Hello and welcome to another video. In today's video we're going to be continuing with the Motostandard 1010. This is part 4 of our project on the Motostandard 1010 now. In the previous video, we flipped the entire tractor upside down across the workbench and this stand. Then we took off the entire front axle, had a big clean up because there was tons of engine oil and stuff there. We also fixed our clutch sound problem that we had. And we finished with us saying that we needed to order some parts. Now today hopefully we can finish all the work on the underside and flip the tractor back over. And one of the parts we were waiting for in the last video was this. A new metric fine bolt to go through the front axle. And then if we compare it to this one, you can see it's exactly the same, minus the wear that's on the old one. And we needed some bolts to go in the 4 points on the deck linkage that we've got on here. And when we looked through the manual, we found out that they shouldn't actually be bolts, they should be pins. So we started looking online for some M12 pins, and they ended up being really expensive. So what we've done prior to this video is we got some M12 bolts, chopped the ends off them, and made up these, which we can install in this video. We've got the first of the deck linkage pins in, and you can see we've put an R-clip on here, which we do actually have a reason behind that. We've had a look through the manual, which we've got on the laptop here, and you can see on the points that attach to the tractor, which are here and the one here, they both have part number 4, which is an R-clip. Now on the other pins, or the other holes where the pins would be to go onto the deck, here, and then the same on this other side, they have the part labelled 7, which is the split pin. Now I think the reason for this is because the ones that attach to the tractor have the R-clips on, so they're easier to remove, and then the other ones have the split pins, so that the entire deck linkage is intended to stay with the deck, and you just detach it from the easier way of detaching it using the R-clips on the tractor. But what we're going to continue to do is go around each of these, putting our new pins on and R-clips, and we're going to have a quick clean up of each point as we take the old bolts out. We've got the other 3 pins fitted now, and in the manual it suggests that while these 2 front pins should have the R-clips on the outside, the 2 at the back, it says, should have the R-clips on the inside. However, as you can see, we haven't followed that, because I can't exactly see any reason to have the R-clips on the inside. It's not like anything's getting caught on them on the outside, and it's just easier to have the R-clips on the outside rather than when this is the right way up, if we wanted to take this linkage off, having to like get your hand around here to do it. So now let's move on to the work on the front axle. Back when we first investigated all of the play on the tractor, there was quite a lot of sideways movement on the axle when we wiggled the wheels, and we put part of that down to the bolt that holds on the axle. However, we also thought that there might be a bit of adjustment in these 2 plates, So what we've now done is undone both of these bolts, and we were correct. You can see there's actually quite a lot of movement in that. So we will adjust this in a second once we put the axle in here so that we can close it up to the axle. But let's go and have a look at the axle and the extent of the damage in a bit more detail than what we've previously showed you. So here it is. By the looks of it, along here you can see where it appears to have worn down and opened up. Maybe this was previously welded to solve the wearing issue. And when we looked online for parts, we realised that we are completely alone with the stub axle. So we've had to come up with a few ideas for fixing it. So the first option is to make up a whole new stub axle. And this would be very difficult because you've got these two brackets we've got to make up, welding them at the right angle, and the bends in this one, and the quite tight bend that's on the axle part here would be quite difficult to do. And then we've got option 2, which is to fill in all the wear on here with weld or some more metal, weld that in and then take it down on the lathe to the right diameter. Problem with that is actually bolting the stub axle onto the lathe to take it down, with the brackets and the fact that this bend isn't a 90-degree. So even if the bracket wasn't there and you could mount it sideways on here like that, this would still be spinning at some weird angle. Option 3 is you get a piece of stock like this, which is pretty similar to the diameter of this, and we would cut off the worn bit completely, then drill into here a tiny bit, press this in, then weld around it, this would be here at this point, and then use that as the new stub axle part. Then our final option that we've come up with is to get a bigger bit of stock, such as this, and then completely cut it back all the way to this side of this like washer part, and then drill a bit out of here, again press that on there, weld it, and then take it down to the size that the axle should be. Now they're just 4 options that we've come up with for this problem, and we'd be very interested in hearing your ideas of what you think we should do, whether you agree with some of our solutions or if you've got a solution of your own. That would be very helpful. Another thing we would have to fix for this is the wheel, because the rim is very worn down, probably from the stub axle. And this is probably easier than the stub axle, because what we do is we just drill this out to a standard size, then put some stock through there, press it in, then weld around it, and then take the tyre off and bolt the rim in the lathe, and then at that point we can just drill a new hole through the centre, and that's it for that. But let's get this wheel put back on there and let's adjust the axle on the tractor. We put some grease on both sides of the axle, ready for it to be put back on. Also have the bolt here with the shims that go either side of it. Now it might be a bit fiddly to get everything lined up with the shims and the bolt and everything on there. So we'll come back to you in a second once we've gotten everything lined up and the bolt is in. We've jumped ahead a bit now and we've got all of the axle stuff done. So it did take us quite a while because we struggled lining up the bolt through the bracket, through 2 shims on this side, through the axle, through another 2 shims into this final plate. So what we ended up doing was taking the adjuster plate on this side off so that we could put the bolt through this, then the shims, then the axle, and then the other shims, and then slide the whole thing through this final bracket. and that seemed to work quite well. And as you can see, no sideways movement in there of the axle at all, so that's a big improvement on before. I've reconnected up one of the steering rods, the one that comes from the quadrant, and we've put an R-clip on here because this will be coming off when we do that stub axle repair at some point. But now we have the quite big job of turning this back on its wheels, or 3 wheels and 1 worn stub axle, and hopefully it won't take the multiple hours it took when we put this upside down. After a short amount of time, we have the tractor back on its wheels again. That really didn't take long, especially compared to how long it took us to actually get it the other way up. But now we deliberately haven't put this back on the workbench because we're hoping that when we next get some workshop time, we will have the parts ready to continue the Wheelhorse Raider 9 project. So this will go on pause to give the Wheelhorse priority, but we will finish this. And if we get some workshop time on this before the parts arrive for the Raider, we'll go over it and clean it up a bit more, make it look a bit better than it does at the moment. But that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Please remember to send us your thoughts on the stub axle, what you think we should do about that. But I'll see you in the next video. Bye.